Because wealth is not in the content of what a man owns, but it's in the quality of his emotional health and his well-being. I see this book because I can look back at it in the next 50 years or next 40 years and know that it really chronicle and channel my feelings and my story. I don't think the church knows how to show love. I want to die empty, and I want to leave enough that the portals of history would call my name. And I thought, if I were to merge my life with that of a butterfly, what would it signify? And immediately I saw in my vision a butterfly with one wing.
I want to say a pleasant good afternoon to all my listeners, our listeners on Facebook, our listeners via Vincy Internet Radio links. I want to say welcome to Mr. Hayden Billingy. Thanks for accepting our invitation and coming on to the program. First, I'm going to ask Mr. Hayden Billingy to introduce himself. When he's finished, then you will be in the hands of the host of this evening, Mr. Moulton Says. Mr. Billingy.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing? I must say it's an extreme honor to be invited on your show. Indeed, Vincy everywhere is Vincy, authentically at home. And to see the radio station aptly named Vincy Internet Radio, you know, it speaks to the islandness of the music, the vibe. And I had a chance to listen in today and heard some old hits just blazing the airways, and it brought back such nostalgia just to know that I grew up with that kind of music. So thank you for bringing back that memory and bringing that nostalgia on a Saturday evening. And indeed, it is good to see that we keep Vincentian music alive and well, even in the diaspora.
For your information, if you want to log on to Vincy Internet Radio anytime from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a Thursday, we play only Vincentian music.
Oh.
So that's an invitation for you.
Yes, certainly, and accepted. But in terms of who I am a Vincentian at heart. I was born in Orange Hill, that is in the very northern rural part of St. Vincent. And I grew up, you know, in a farming village where everything consisted around going to the bush, walking on mornings, walking on evenings, and basically work my way through my schooling. And I'm able to stand today with many accolades because of my faith in God and my faith in the education system and how it can take you out of poverty and how it can elevate you and how it can put you in a different plane. So, I mean, there's many other facets of me that we'll talk about, I'm sure. But I think is an introduction that we could start with.
I just want to say pleasant good afternoon to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Pleasant good afternoon to the world. Shout out to everyone who is locked on to Vincy Internet Radio. And I just want to welcome at this time a special man of the hour with many, as he said, he told you, like he said, many accolades behind his name. And I'm pretty sure we will get a chance to tackle every corner of it. If not in deep down in it, we'll just touch base with it. So Hayden Billingy, Hayden, welcome to the program. Welcome to Vincy Internet Radio and welcome to our special program of Strictly Vincy, where we highlight, you know, prolific people like you who are making it, and, you know, and Vincentian in general around the world who are really making a difference in our society, in our community, and for everyone else. Welcome to the program, Hayden.
Thank you very much, Sayers. It's an honor, as I said before. And when I hear the word prolific, it doesn't seem like you're talking about me, but but I'm humbled and honored to be counted among the prolific ones that you can you can use as inspiration for the listeners today.
Absolutely, you are already an inspiration to a lot of us, especially people on foreign soil. It's indeed, man, like a pleasure to have you here because, like, as you know, we're from a very small island. For listeners who don't really are not too familiar with St. Vincent, we're from a small island, and when we progress, and lately we have been making real corners around the world, and putting St. Vincent and the Grenadines on the map, so to speak.
Yes.
So you're already doing a great job, like being an author, being a musician, modeling. I know I'm going to leave out some of them, not because it's so long. So
yeah.
we're gonna start now with, like, take us back where give us a little in depth of your humble days growing up from a kid, and then we'll progress it to where we are right now.
Yes. So when I was growing up, I thought we were poor, because when you looked at other people and when you look at where we were at the very, very, very bottom, and I tell you that because now I'm older, I realize we weren't poor at all.
True.
And I tell you why. Because we had a cattle, we had at one point pigs, we had goats, we had a farm, and we had fresh milk, fresh meat, fresh chicken, fresh vegetables from the backyard. And so I had to come now to redefine what poverty really is, but it still speaks to the humility and the humbleness of how we grew up, how we saw life, how we valued life. So my mother, she was a single parent, and it was 5 of us, and she ensured that each one of us was instilled values of how to survive, which I think the kids today don't quite appreciate. On mornings, we had to go to the farm. Before the cock crow, we had to go to the farm, make sure we milk the cow, we feed the hog, we deflower the plant, the bananas, we you till around the soil and you manure your produce. So it was this morning struggle. And because we didn't have running water, we had to go to the standpipe to carry water with our buckets. And then we had to wash up the ways behind the house, the dishes behind the house. And you had to do every single chore before you go to school. Yet we were expected to perform. But I believe it's that humble beginning that started to teach me the values that I now have and I now use to do what I do today.
It's also part of survival now. I could say for me, it's also a part of our humble beginnings back then. Makes it easier for us to survive now. And you said something very key at the beginning. You thought you were poor, and so did I. Like, I thought we were poor.
Yeah.
It's amazing to know that it's when I came out here on foreign soil, I'm really seeing what real poverty is and what poorness is. We thought being poor was not having our parents don't have a vehicle, we don't need whatever. But we had, like you said, you had a cow. That alone is something to
yeah. And just to mention how we ate fresh fruits. They were organic, and we had the best fruit. We didn't take any floxy fruit. We go for the best fruit,
true.
And we got it as soon as it fell from the tree, or we go and climb for it. True. And now the world is moving back to organic, where we started. So we weren't poor. We just had a misunderstanding of what poverty really is. And even says, when we look at Africa and how the Europeans have painted Africa, it's really a false narrative that has been perpetuated throughout the years and made Africa seem like this poverty-stricken country, which Africa is one of the richest countries in the world. And so we have to now redefine what poverty is, redefine what wealth is, because wealth is not in the content of what a man owns, but it's in the quality of his emotional health and his well-being.
True. And we can go on and put out the definition for being rich and being poor. Also, you also stress some things that you said, the way your parents brought you. You came up from a single parent home, and
Yes.
already you're reflecting success. You know, maybe you're not where you want to be yet, but you're already reflecting success, which also shows that you don't have to be financially rich to be successful. And I know you're a man of strong faith also. So, and you will also testify that maybe also your upbringing in church spiritually also helps you to really get through life in these.
Yes.
And like you said before, also, you know, the youths nowadays, they don't really gravitate towards, you know, spiritualism, so that, you know, they can, you know, be successful on different levels. You know, so yes. I'm glad I have someone like you here that we can really sit because you can relate to so many facets of life. You already touched the agricultural sector where, you know, you can eat organic, and we were eating organic. And maybe I don't want to talk to us because it's not about me, but I just have to say that you're so right. Like, we were like the kids who would be growing up eating bananas and mangoes and stuff like that. We probably looked at them like, you know, they would eat it for lunch or for breakfast. And
yeah.
Looked at them.
We thought they were poor.
Yeah, no, doctors are encouraging you to do that. You can just eat food for the whole day and survive.
Yeah. And I think it's attributable to how healthy we are. And I say healthy, I say wealthy first, because your health is really your wealth, you know? And I think because we had a good foundation, because the strength of anything lies in its foundation. And I say this to punctuate a few things. Because we ate healthy, we had a strong body, a good foundation to start with, but also because we started with a foundation in Christ, a very early age, and we started with a foundation of sound values and sound morals. It brought us all through life with this sense of firmness, a sense of belonging, a sense of resilience, that no matter what we go through, we can come through it. You know what I mean?
True. So when you were growing up, and like you said, you're from a family of your five siblings. When
right.
you were growing up, at what point you saw that you were really breaking away or heading in another direction, different than the kids around you and stuff like that?
Wow. You are sending me in some real serious places.
We have time.
Yes. I don't know exactly when that happened, but I knew as a child I was very intuitive and in tuned. I was very, very attuned to my environment, very attuned, to the point where I remember as a very young kid, I had some health challenges, and I'll tell you about them. But I want to talk to you about the attuneness as a kid. I remember one particular time my mother took me to the doctor because she said I was talking to myself and she was worried. And I knew what was going on, but I allowed her to take me to the doctor. And the doctor said to her, no, he's a happy child, take him home. Because at nights, I would feel a presence coming to my room, but that appeared to be angels. Yeah? And I'll tell you how I know. Now I'm older. God revealed to me that it was him who visited me. And I remember I'll be whispering to him as a very young kid, whispering to him. And my mother would hear me whispering to him, and she got worried, you know? But I think too, because I was ill, because I had back problems as a child. Could you imagine a child with back problems, couldn't walk, couldn't go to school, because at the time we used to walk to school. And there are days when I'll be home because I couldn't walk and my back hurt so badly. And yet when I go to school, I will still ace the class and come first, you know, or top my class. But there's something special about me. And how I knew it, my uncle, he somehow called me King. Every time he saw me, he just said King. King Yellow. Because they called me Yellow Man when I was a kid, right? And he called me King Yellow. And at the time, it didn't quite click and dawn on me that he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Wow.
And he enunciated it, and he spoke it and declared it over my life. And so as I look back, I say, wow, my uncle affirmed me at a very young age because he saw something in me that I didn't see myself. And because of those affirmations, I lived out that word. I lived out that life. And it is so important that we speak over our kids. It is so important that we affirm our kids to make them feel confident, to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel appreciated and loved. Not only as a person, but as a Black person. And I punctuate this because I want to make a point here. Growing up, it was Black and ugly. Black never accompanied anything but ugly.
True.
Right? And Black and stupid. And we have used that stereotype to shame our Black people. And so it led to lack of confidence. It led to unachievement or underachievement. It led to us feeling less of a people.
True.
And underprivileged. And it started in the mind.
True.
And when the mind is eroded and there's seeds of discord and seeds of unworthiness planted there, only a tree of worthlessness could come out of that seed. And so as a Black individual, I want to tell our Black people that we are kings and queens. As much as my uncle saw it, I see it in many children, and I affirm them just the very same way.
And what you said there is very important. I had an encounter when I went home one time, but I won't even get into it because it's not really fit to really say. It was like a Black parent was forcing her son to like a special race of people, and I had to intercept them, and then she got the real story of what I was trying to say,
Yes.
So many a times, like you say, we grew up and what was said to us really, and not only that, sometimes it's from our community as well.
Yeah.
It damages your mind or poison your mind against success, and it can be a real difference between success and failure. So I'm happy when people like you come on board and can identify those kind of little things that can really affect our kids and our family, So you also went on, right? So I think maybe I'm going to tackle your writing first, because you just published another book. You wrote,
yes.
How many books have you written so far now?
I've written 3 books so far. Well, I've written many books so far, but only published 3.
Oh, okay. So you get to elaborate on the first one.
Okay, so the first one is a cookbook called Cook Calypso. And I started by saying my mother ensured that we learned every skill possible. So she would make us cook. So each of us had a cooking day. My day was a Sunday. On a Sunday.
That's the main day, man.
Right? That's the only day we got chicken legs,
Yes.
So
yeah, I was telling somebody before you go, I was telling somebody like from another country that Sunday it's got to be rice on Sunday, nothing else.
Yeah, got to be rice and peas with baked chicken leg or stewed chicken leg with maybe some side of pumpkin and potato and
a little piece of roast breadfruit on the side or something.
Roast breadfruit on the side and so on, and maybe a little scramblings of carrot,
Yeah.
I mean, I had to correct my eating habits as I grow older. So I would do the Sunday lunch, and I'll have chance to kind of change things up, switch things around, and so I've always been creative in the kitchen. And I used to cook and put my food up on Facebook. And as an artist, I would decorate it beautifully and so on. And this lady from Barbados saw it and said, "Oh my God, I'm so obsessed with your food." And so she encouraged me to keep doing it and post it. And then she said, "Why don't I do a magazine on you?" So I said, "Sure," And then it evolved into a cookbook.
Oh.
And before I know it, I was an author.
Oh.
What can I say?
So I'm just, trying to scramble for words here. And I know I have to bring in CP, almost forgot CP outside because we're just talking. Before CP comes in, I don't know, like I said, I'm scrambling for words because you're doing so many things, or you have done so many things, or you are doing so many things that it seems like almost impossible. What human being is so, like, and I'm using the word prolific again, these, different facets,
Yeah.
cook,
Yeah.
author, or when we're gonna tackle them after. I'm just gonna let CP jump in, and then we're gonna come back to them.
Sure.
You listen to Vinci Internet Radio, and we have with us the talented Mr. Hayden Billingy. Hayden, when I was researching to do the jingle, I have to leave out so many things, as otherwise it would take a long time. Give us a background of your resume, because before we go on, just give us some. Don't leave out anything. Just a good background of your resume.
Yeah, I'll probably leave out some stuff as well because I think when I was doing the public library in St. Vincent invited me to speak on the book. And when I heard them talking about me, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because I couldn't bear hearing all the good things that was being said. And I was embarrassed because I grew up being ashamed of myself, being ashamed of being poor, as I thought, being ashamed that I was brown skinned, because I was teased in school for being brown skinned. And my mom had to say, well, it's okay. They're jealous of you for being that color. It's okay. You're black still, So when I heard those accolades, I said to myself, wow, is that really me? And I had to remind myself as a country boy that I've earned my place where I sat. So with that being said, I can talk about me now. I actually have a bachelor's degree in forest engineering. And CP, when I tell you that my life is a life filled with grace, it is filled with grace. Because I was the very first person from my village to graduate from a college and to graduate from a university. I'm the first of many things. And when I tell you that it was God, it was God. Because there was no hope for me when I left school to go to university, because I didn't know where that money was coming from, but God provided. And then I moved on to doing my master's degree in environmental management. And then I did some studies in the university, Florida International University, and then some additional studies at the United Nations University. So it just kept snowballing. And then I started working with forestry, the national parks, and then with the United Nations for a while. And then I moved on to the World Bank. And then from the World Bank, I'm now working with the Caribbean Biodiversity Fund, rather. And it is just one of those things that you just can't wrap your head around, how you have come this far when you had very little opportunities available at the time. But I tell you one thing that I've always used as my mantra, and I would always use it. When I finished secondary school, I topped my class at the most subjects. And mommy came up to me and said, Hayden, I know that your wish is to go to college, but we can't afford it. And something inside of me just said, Mommy, God will provide. And that is the hope I use for college, university. Everything I've ever done, I've always used that mantra, God will provide. So for me, that is how it started. And because I had this strong faith in God and He providing, I moved on to doing so many other stuff. But my musical career started by accident. I wasn't supposed to be a singer. That was pure accident.
Before I go on, I must have to ask you, are you related to the former police officer Billingy?
That is my great uncle. And he is a huge inspiration in who I became as an individual.
Good friend.
Oh, wow. What a small world, eh?
Besides that, now, after all this resume, beautiful resume, how do you manage your time to get
Oh,
things?
wow. That's a good question. And my very close friends ask me this question every single day. I'm a doer. I don't think. I do while I think. So while persons think through the process, I am already doing the process. Yes, so it saves me time when it comes to implementing anything. Second of all, I'm a creator because I am of the creator, God. And so for me, things just flow out of me. I don't find time to do things. Things find time to attract themselves to me. So when I wrote this book came to me, the one I'm going to talk about, the new book, it came to me like this, in a vision, on paper, and was completed. So it's a matter of, do you lean into the process, or do you make the process control how you unfold and unroll up the process? You have to know that you must lean in, get it done, and then move on. Rather than thinking about it, procrastinating about it, that's true process, then get it done. So for me, I am very good at time management, and somehow I get it done. I don't know. It's in me. I'm always on time for my appointments, never late. And people ask me, how do I do it? I said, time is built into me. I time everything down to a second.
And saying that, I think you got some of that from your parents to remember our growing up days. Our parents spit on the ground. You had to go to the shop and before you have to be back. So that helped us along, I think, to manage our time properly.
Absolutely. If you didn't come home on time, you get licked. So you got to be there on time.
There's no excuse.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll come a little bit to your music. How as you say, you get into music by accident. If you're into the music, how do you compile your music? Do you get a melody, or you just write?
Right. So music for me is very cathartic, meaning that it bonds out of my emotions. Whatever I'm going through at the moment, I tend to write about it because I journal a lot. And so I might have a feeling about something, and I might start writing about it. Or I might hear a rhythm and it speaks to me, and then I have a hook. I write the hook down, and before you know it, I start to write around the hook, and it comes alive. But many times, though, I don't have an intention to write. It just comes to me and I write it. So I don't sit down and say, oh, I'm gonna write a book today, or I'm gonna write a song today. I never have that moment. It's always me. For example, I wrote a song for Kyoka Cookshank in St. Vincent. You should know her. She won the Digital Rising Stars a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Many years ago. And she asked me for a song, and I was in Gecko in the line, waiting to go to the teller. And the song came to me in the line. And I wrote it on my phone, and I sang it in my phone, sent it to her. She said, wow, love it. And that was it.
So you always compile around a storyline, or you just wait for the idea to come to you?
You know, we have plenty stories. We grow up around stories like the folklore, the storytelling, moonlight nights, and the ring games, and the trials we go through as children, and the trauma we go through as children. We have lots of stories, man. I am never out of a story. So for me, I write out of life. The abundance of what I've gone through and what I'm living through, I write from that place. Yeah. There's no life without you, God. I can't live without you. I refuse to live. There's no life without you.
In case you just joined us, we're talking to Mr. Hayden Billingy. He is an author, musician, songwriter, producer, philanthropist, Help me out here, Hayden.
Model, actor.
Yeah, model, actor. Oh my gosh, like you're like the real deal of cities. I hope they make you a cultural ambassador already. Did they?
I hope so.
Yeah, because you're doing so much, man. I'm gonna fast forward to your book, man, because I'm kind of curious, and because the name there. Tell us, you just did your book launch in last March. Flippity Floppity Wing. Tell me, first of all, how did you come up with that name, and then get into it as to how did that story come about?
That's a good question. I tell people that this story is ethereal. It landed from heaven right into my vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did. I have moments where I spend time meditating, contemplating, and I take it seriously. You know, I spend time, I connect with the divine. And one of those sessions, I was just, just contemplating, if I were to write a story, what would it be about? And if I were to write it for kids, what would it, what would the content really be? But I was looking at my second book, which I was writing at the time, and I wanted somebody to do the cover for me. So I was looking through a compendium of illustrators, and I saw this picture of an elephant who had a butterfly landed on its trunk. And I thought, what if I wrote about a butterfly? What would the story be like? And I thought, if I were to merge my life with that of a butterfly, what would it signify? And immediately I saw in my vision a butterfly with one wing.
Wow.
Yeah. And more than that, she is asking the leaf cutter ant to make her a wing from leaves. So as I said to you earlier, you either lean in and let it guide you, or you lean out. So I leaned in and I wrote the first line down. And then I wanted to stay there because I didn't want to go too deep at the time. And then something in me keeps saying, lean in some more, lean in and sit with the story. So I sat with it, and within 1 hour, I wrote the entire book.
Wow.
And because the butterfly had one wing, if something is flapping their wings and it's broken, it will flippity floppity. So that's how the name was born.
Wow. So just give us a little idea of what the book is all about, and who would want to read that book?
Yeah. So the book is about a butterfly that lost one of her wing. She was a happy butterfly, like most kids are, and most persons are, until tragedy strikes. And so she breaks off one of her wing on a limb, on a branch. And she was now having to adapt to life as a creature that creeps. And this wing signifies not only something physical, but for other persons, it might be spiritual. It might be something of an emotional breakage, or a loss of a loved one, or loss of a limb, or loss of something that is significant to them. And sometimes when you lose things, you can't regain that thing, but you can either replace it, or you can learn to live with that loss. And so in the case of butterfly, she didn't replace her wing, but she, through the comfort and encouragement of her friends, was able to come to terms with accepting herself. And so the book is about friendship, it's about self-acceptance, it's about how do you rebound in the case of adversity, in the case of hardship, in the case of disappointments and just adverse situations in your life. And in terms of who this book is for, it's for mainly kids from 5 to 8 years old. But I think it's a good starter to teach kids how to be resilient at a very young age. And
as you're talking about it, I kind of see what the moral can also be heading towards adults, because adults also struggle with issues just as kids. So, well, while you were talking and I'm listening, is because I'm going like, well, maybe this book also, if adults read it, they can also get the moral from it, that even sometimes, like you say earlier on, there were kids who were struggling with their identity in terms of people calling them black, like whatever, black. Would you say some good moral also for adults to really?
Absolutely. In fact, a parent reached out to me and said, Hayden, I've read hundreds of kids' books to my kids because I have young ones, but I've never read a book like yours that I've enjoyed. She said, it is good when a parent actually enjoys a book. She said, I hope you know that your book is very special. Mm-hmm. Another person reached out to me and said, and this is a dad, said to me, this book spoke to me in deep ways that I can even express. And when you hear these things, it just makes you want to just celebrate, Sure. Celebrate that even if you write it for kids, that parents can actually find some essence or some sort of comfort in this book. I want to also mention that we paid a particular interest in the character, in making sure that she was black. Why? Because I want my Vincentian, my Caribbean, and my African, and my African Americans to be able to see themselves in this book and be able to be inspired by this book and to want to tell their stories as well. So when I was growing up, most of the books had white characters, but I wanted our kids to see themselves in these stories.
Wow, I'm really impressed, because I wish a lot of authors for children's books can really take the time out also to think when they're writing that, because in most cases, parents are the ones going to be reading it. Adults are the ones going to be reading the story. And why I say I'm impressed is because also us adults can really have fun and find joy and find morals and find a reason for, because many times, sometimes as a parent, you don't really have the answers to a lot of questions. So it's also good that adults can also find it interesting and beneficial to them as well. So that just brings out another part of the genius in you for doing stuff like that. So you how is the reception though from the public in general? Since I know you said someone reached out to you, how is it?
Oh my gosh. Says I have not been. I've sung, I've modeled, I've acted. I mean, I'm an engineer. But I don't think that anybody has ever embraced me as much as it did when I finished this book. Like, the point of love was just palpable. People were so overjoyed with the quality of the illustrations and just the quality of the book in general. And just to see a black Vincentian, a black man writing a book for kids and just trying to inspire the next generation. Man, the support has been overwhelming, not only in St. Vincent, but in the diaspora. I mean, my village people were absolutely,
yes,
like proud. Like they said it to me, I'm proud of you. When you hear that from your villagers and your people, which is very seldom spoken.
See, I just wish that our community, our people, can really embrace. I just wish we were like a tighter knit of people that we just spread the good news around, and that's what we try to do here on Vinci Internet Radio, to spread the good news around about Vincentian, because we're no longer like this, like when you and I were growing up. We're no longer like this, small nation with, no dreams. Now not only we're dreaming, we're living dreams, So again, man, we're so proud of you, and congratulations again. And I feel what you said when you said that one made you feel proud, because you can feel it, like people are receptive to it, because you also have the other book prior to that. I guess that would be the 9 days of don't be shy. If you have them there, just put it up on the screen for everyone to see. You don't. So if you have a copy there, just don't be.
Actually, I'm out of copies. That's why I haven't shown any. But it's 9 Days of Happiness, a lifetime of benefits. And this book I wrote on my way from Taiwan to the UK. I think it was 2013, no, 20 something. But I was a blogger at first. I used to blog because I had so much to say and I had so much to write and I didn't have a space to do so. So I wrote that as a blogger. And everybody who saw the blog says, Hayden, you got to write this into a book. I said, nah, I don't want to write a book. And then every time someone sees me, they say, this book has to come to life. And so I started to work on it. And then I published it. And then people were using it as devotionals. They were using it as self-help. They were using it in their women's ministry. And I was like, wow, that must be some book, you know?
So Hayden, what do you have to say though to people? I know obviously kids in your community look up to you. What do you have to say to people who grew up with less fortunate? I don't really want to use the word poor anymore. Less fortunate, and they have dreams. And I'm not talking about just telling them to go for your dreams. What direct message would you give to people who just want to get out of their situation and move on, like people who look up to you and want to be looking like you, who want to be like you? What would you say?
I would say, and I always say, where you start is not where you end. Where you start is not where you end. You don't have to smell and look like where you come from.
Well, that's a new one.
Yeah. You don't have to look and smell like where you come from. And I don't say it in a disparaging way where I'm saying, oh, don't look like a Vincent, don't look like whatever. I'm saying it in a way to remind us that we are not defined by our beginning. And you may start out very poor, very underprivileged, but that does not excuse or justify you being comfortable with where you are. I think now we are more advantaged than the ones that come before us. We have social media, we have YouTube, we have Google, we have evening classes, we have all kinds of resources available to us. So we have no excuse to be failures.
True.
You know, have no excuse at all. But I want to also say something that I do. I wrote a vision board for myself. Bible says, write the vision, make it clear. And people do not understand that it was literal. You have to write your vision where you want to see yourself. And you have to be able to visualize it. And I am a spatial mapping specialist. So we have to visualize a map in order to convince the viewer or the reader of the map that they can understand and relate to the map. So we have to make everything thematic, meaning that it has to fit a particular theme. And so when you're talking about your vision, there are several themes that make up one big vision. So you have to put these pictures and visualize it, put it on a paper and stick it up where you can see it every morning and every night before you go to bed. So I have one right here at my dining table when I'm eating breakfast, and I have one right when you get up from a bed. I see it as soon as I get up. The first thing I see is my vision board. And everything I'm accomplishing now is on that board. So I am not walking in a misguided way. I am walking in a way that is strategic. It is planned out. And so I know where my next step is.
Let me come to you on that, because I'm And you're right. I've heard so many stories of vision board, and I believe it works. My question is, what if your dreams are a little bit too big, or you're going to tell me no, your dreams cannot be too big? So someone like me who's going to say, well, this is my vision board, and because I know it's a vision board, and because I know it usually works, I'm going to make my dreams so big, as seeing. So explain to me that part of it there.
There are no dreams that are too big. And I tell you why. When I was growing up, and listen, my vision board came out of my dreams. Because you have to understand that you are your dreams.
Right.
They emanate out of you. And so your dreams are basically telling you who you should become. Your dreams are a vision into who you are. So you are seeing spiritually what is to manifest. So it is a gateway into who you really are. And so if you are very intuitive and attuned, I said this in the very early stage of our interview, you have to be attuned to the universe, attuned to your environment. And if you're attuned, you will never miss a beat. So when I was growing up, I had dreams of me speaking to thousands of people. I had dreams of me singing to thousands of people. And I kept ignoring those dreams because I was too scared. Because as an island boy in a small village, in a poverty-stricken, quote-unquote, situation, those dreams were too big for me. There was no way that I could have ever accomplished this thing. So I kept running from those dreams until one day I realized that you can't run from what life has purposed you to become. And so I started to vision and write those things down. And because of that, I believe is the reason why I'm so successful as I am today. Because I have acquiesced to my dreams. I have made myself one with my dreams, and I've written it down, and I watch it every day, and I pray with those dreams in mind. And so that is why I believe that I've been so successful so far.
So I probably give you another book idea there. You're going to write a book on...
Sure.
It's not a bad idea, because like realistically, sometimes, we really have dreams, and it's really a matter of how to really come and put it together for it to, like, you will hear, so many people, they have dreams of doing this and doing that and doing that. And let me just say here, you're just an example of dreams for real, because I don't know if you've ever encountered where people must have told, I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line, people must have told you, or if you had told them about all your dreams, they would say, man, you can't achieve all that and you can't achieve all that. I'm pretty sure you probably, one or two probably
But the
said
thing is, I never did talk about I never talked about them because I didn't think they were possible.
that.
Like I thought they were crazy, I thought I was crazy,
Thought they were just dreams.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy because I was thinking that would never happen. But I tell you what happened though. I had a lot of prophecies that says you're going to be great, you're going to be powerful, you're going to be singing all over the world. And I thought they were crazy. And they said, oh, you would write books. And I thought they were going crazy. And they said, oh, you would speak to thousands. I said, you are crazy. And so, yeah. And so I was writing books. I was writing songs, just writing songs and asking singers to sing the songs. And people kept saying, nah. I write my own songs, I whatever. So a friend of mine said to me, why don't you sing one of the songs and maybe somebody will want to maybe let you write for them. So I said, good idea. So what he did, he set me up with a producer to produce one of my songs, not knowing that that was the genesis of my singing career. So I went to the producer, no. I went to St. Lucia for a festival, and he lives in St. Lucia. So he said to me, you are here, come to the studio. I went to the studio, did the song. He said to me, is it your first song? I said, yeah. He said, you have more songs? I said, yeah. He said, why don't we do an album?
Wow.
I said, what? He said, yeah. He said, you have a unique sound. There's something about your voice that's so different that it doesn't fit into any other stereotypical voice I've heard before. So I said to myself, what? So I extended my flight to a week longer, and I stayed in St. Lucia and recorded my first album.
Wow. Just like
Obviously,
that.
yeah, I thought, well, this is madness anyway. It's not going to work, you know. Came home, released the album, and then got selected for Best Gospel Single of the Year.
Wow.
And then,
sorry, you were also, if I'm right, nominated. You had a nomination in England, I think, for international.
For Gospel Explosion, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So when that happened, so I still have to say to you that your vision never lets you down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going deeper. Your vision doesn't let you down, because in the fullness of time and with God's grace, there's an allowance of grace that flows through your life. It's like a current that connects you to different connections. So my friend connects me to this producer, and this producer connects me to the world. And then once you are connected, you keep being connected to different sockets, like I am today on your program, because of the book.
Right.
And somebody gonna hear this program and ask me to speak again. So the sockets keep connecting. And so your vision can't die. The only way your vision dies if you kill your vision.
Kill your vision. Wow. This is deep, and it's absolute. It makes absolute sense, you know, because sometimes, man, we just dream and we just talk, and like you say, we're not living in the dream, you know. And there you are, not just living the dream. You're not just doing things. You're successful in whatever you do, you know. And so I hope that like I said, you can bring out another book like that with, you know, yes, and and help us along, because just by this little conversation here, it makes me reflect, you know, back in the days of my dreams, you know. And Tippy and I were having a talk one time, I think it was before this program or when we just started it, and CP's dream was also to be on the radio. And my dream as a little boy, I used to be under our house trying to be a radio announcer as well. and we didn't know that about each other, right? And this was his dream growing up, when, you know, but like, you know, back in the day, you like, because of the situation, we were only dreaming. In my case, CP, I guess, was more fortunate than I am. In my case, my mother was a little bit not so fortunate, so I could have only dreamed, you know, of doing those things, you know. And also, you're never too old to realize your dream, you know?
Exactly. Like you and CP, I had a vision of being on the radio as well, and I've done that last year, and tomorrow I'm actually filling in for an announcer who is out of state. So I say, look at God.
Wow. And who knows where life goes from there.
That is it. And I tell you, do not, I always say, do not discount casual encounters. I'll say it again, do not discount casual encounters. You never know which moment will take you. So when you show up doing your best, looking your best, smelling your best. Let me give you a story. When I was in university doing my master's degree, I was very shy. Growing up, I was very shy. So I remember I had a presentation to work on, and I walked in the room, and the IT manager for the university, he was setting up the program and so on, and I went there, presented, and there was something that distracted me. Let me tell you what distracted me. I heard every negative edict and every negative word that was said about me in that moment.
Wow.
And not only that, I inclined my ears to those comments. Not only that, I indulged and entertained those comments. Not only that, I let those comments defeated my ability to present that day. And because of that, I was a total failure at the presentation. I did horribly. I was so disappointed in myself. I walked off the podium and the IT manager came to me and said, "What happened?" So I was so ashamed. I said, "I don't know." He said to me, "You're a big guy." He's a small guy. He said, "You're a big guy. When you walk into the room, you must command the room. You have what it takes to take over the room. You have what it takes to impose your presence in the room." And from that day, that little IT guy changed my life.
Wow.
He said to me words that nobody ever did. He cared enough to tell me that I have what it takes to take over a room. I have what it takes to impose and to gain attention and to own the room. And from that day, whenever I walk into the room, I own that room.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring CP in here because I know he also talks about you never know who's listening. You know, you can be talking and the right person is listening.
You know, when you talk about your dreams, you know how we can make your dreams into reality. How it's support. And I had my brothers and my sisters. My sister is listening right now. I hope she's listening. She's a former head teacher, Miss Maria Bo. That's my. And when I actually start this, you know, if it's only 2 listeners I had, was my family. You understand? And it grew and it grew and it grew. So as you say, you never know who is out there afterwards, because when they start growing, sometimes it start growing out of my control. Then came Mr. Moulton says. So as we say, our dreams can really grow, but we have to keep at it.
Yes.
And once we keep at our dreams, then we somewhere along the line, whether years down the line, the reality is gonna come. So
Yes.
I'm always gonna say to somebody now, as you say, make sure that you keep your dream. Your dream is more important than money.
Yeah. And I think what you said is so important, because I remember, well, fear is one of the biggest inhibitors to dreams. And I likened this to a prison, yeah, where fear is the gatekeeper. And the prison is really what detains you from breaking out. But fear makes it his business to keep you contained in that prison, right? And so one of the things that kept me back was the fear that I would not be accepted as a singer. And for the very first album I put out, people started saying, "Oh, he can't sing. We hear you say you sing, you want to do everything." You know how people can be. He wants to do everything. He's not a good singer. And I immediately said to myself, that's it for me. I'm not singing again. I'm done with that. And my friend, who is a producer, Mariah St. Louis, said to me, "Don't listen to people. Follow your dream." And I remember he said to me, in order to vindicate what they say, let's do a second album. We did the second album and we did singles together. And the same people who said I couldn't sing and who dragged my name down were the same people who now tell me, "Wow, you are really blazing the trail for Vincentians. Wow, you won so many international awards. You really have set the pace for gospel and secular artists here in St. Vincent and Grenadines." So if you give in to these negative thoughts and negative words and negative innuendos, you would not be able to achieve your dreams. So you have to be consistent, as CP says. You have to be consistent and keep going, keep grinding, keep working, keep pushing.
Because as you know, nothing comes easy. Some people believe that success comes overnight, but most of the very successful men and women, sleepless night is part of their practice. And we only see them when they put their feet up and relaxing and other people doing the job for them. But it's pretty hard work to be successful if you really want to be successful. So in that said, now, when you got out from university, we're not talking about your master's yet. Talking
Right.
about the bachelor.
Right.
What was your first job?
Yeah. So when I finished university, but before I finished university, I came back home and I did a short internship with forestry. And because I was doing forest engineer and the first forest engineer in the country, they welcomed me, as part of the cohort. And when I get back from university the following year, they had a job waiting for me. So I came back and I worked as it was a technical officer for a program that they were running. And I worked for only about 6 months. And then they placed me in another program for another 6 months. And I said to myself, where do I want to be in the next 5 years? And I said, I don't want to be here. So I said, I need to put my plans into action. And I always say this, when you feel something in your spirit, lean into it. And when I was thinking about it, I kept feeling in my spirit that you need to leave. I told one of my colleagues and he said to me, you mad? You should stay another year and get study leave and then go. I said, no, I have to leave now. And I resigned from my position and left and went to university. Now, I didn't know where the money was coming from. I left St. Vincent with no money, went to Barbados with the same mentality that God had provided to university. I applied for a loan, wasn't sure that I'll get a loan, but I went to school anyway. When I was in school, I slept on people's couches, ate what I could afford, because I was determined that I wanted to have a master's degree to move to the next level. And that is the kind of sacrifice that we people go through just to make sure that we make it.
And it's very important that you're saying these things, because some people, yes, they want to achieve, but they set the achievement so low.
Yeah.
That when things doesn't work out, they blame everybody else but themselves. And here you are saying that, you want to achieve, you don't know where the next meal is coming from, or you don't know where the cash is coming from, but you still, you want to go forward.
Listen, I'm ashamed to say this right now, but I stayed with my brother's then girlfriend. He was living with her and he asked if I could sleep on her couch. And she said yes. And then within 2 weeks, she said, I don't want him here. They kicked me out of the house and I had nowhere to go. But there was one of my past secondary school teacher and one of my very dear friend. They were also doing their bachelor's degree. Well, I was doing my master's degree. They were doing their bachelor's degree. And I asked them, they said I could sleep on the couch. So I said, let me sleep on your couch and I'll wash the dishes, I'll cook the food, I'll clean the house. So I slept on the couch. I cooked, I washed up the ways, I cleaned the house, I sit on the couch. And then I kept asking the university whether they had a space for me to stay. And they kept saying, no, there isn't a place yet. And as soon as I got monies to be able to, and by the way, the university keeps saying to me, Mr. Billingy, you cannot stay in our facility any longer until you pay. And I kept saying, well, I'll be for it. Please understand, I'm getting some money. I'll be able to pay later on. And they kept telling me, well, we can't do it any longer. And just when it was the time when they were going to tell me, hey, that is it, I got some money, that money came through. And then immediately somebody moved out of the school and there was a room available for me to stay. So I'm telling you, timing and everything, timing is everything. Like, you don't know how much I'm grateful to God, for these tender mercies, man, these graceful moments.
Yeah, and it's very important that you say these things, because some people now might see you, your achievements or whatever it is, but they do not know the road that you took.
Hard. Yeah, it's hard. I had to walk to school because on the second semester, I ran out of money. I ran out of money. Maybe the second semester, maybe, I don't know. Maybe the third, I can't remember. But I ran out of money and I remember having no place to stay. And a Bajan family took me in Well, a guy in his family who lived in Barbados took me in. And then I had to walk from their house to school, and it was a good distance. And I remember how embarrassed I felt walking on the road to school, and the other students seeing me walking. They're going along in the bus and see me walking. So I used to walk in the back road, which is a very hilly road, to take me to school. But I walked every day, and I was able to, get something to eat when I'm staying with the family. So many times people don't know how hard it is to really chase your dreams because you want to make good of yourself,
And it's very important that you're saying this, because sometimes I have conversations with other people, and they're saying, oh, they have to end this because of X, Y, and Z. But I don't think sometimes they put enough effort to move forward. So give us a little bit more insight of your effort that you really put in.
Yeah.
So that you can really understand. It's hard work and a lot of effort for to success.
Yes. So let me take you back to college, because I think that's one of the most defining moments in my student years, and I think it is one of the ones that really led to the next levels. When I was going to college, I remember, I told you mommy says she couldn't afford it, so I couldn't go. And I said to her that God would provide. And I remember I didn't even have a school pants to go to school. And you had to wear green pants at that time and a white shirt. Well, I had a white shirt from Form 5. And my aunt had a green jeans. Back in the day, CP, everybody wore the same jeans. Man and woman who had like the same cut. It wasn't a skin fit and a skin jeans. It was like a straight cut, right? So she had one of those jeans, and she gave me the jeans, and my stepdad had a black construction shoes, and he gave me the shoes, and I was able to go to school. I used to have to beg for a ride every single day to go to school. Come outside early, beg for a ride, get to school. Sometimes I go to school, no food. I have nothing to eat, but I'll go into class and pretend that I was like everybody else, and I would just bear my hunger. I remember one time while I was in class, somebody said to me, there's a Taiwanese scholarship that was available to students from the hard area. So I say, well, let me apply for it. So I wrote this nice, juicy, letter about how poor we were, and, how I was struggling in college, and my parents were very poor, and I really want to make good of myself, and I want to represent the people from the Jai River, and, that kind of stuff now. And I got the scholarship. And I was able to now afford food. I was able to afford a uniform. But before that, I remember the principal from the college would meet me and say, Mr. Billingy, we do not tolerate you wearing jeans in the school. I said, Principal, I'm so sorry, but we are very poor. I cannot afford a uniform right now. And when I'm able to, I will. And he met me 3 times and said the same thing to me. And I said, I'm so sorry, but until I can afford it, please give me a grace period. And when I got that scholarship money, I went to Jack's and I buy my green pants. And I showed up in his office. Oh, yeah, but I say this to say that you can start really badly, but you have to be at the right place at the right time. Had I not persisted and said, boy, I'm gonna stick this thing out, I wouldn't have been in position to get a scholarship in college. So you gotta keep pushing and keep persevering despite of hardships.
Okay, in case you just join us, we're talking to Mr. Hayden Billingy, author, musician, philanthropist, model. You learn a lot more. Hayden, how would you describe your music in general?
I describe my music as hopeful, hopeful, inspirational. I want people to see light at the end of every song.
Mhm.
They might be going through a difficult period, like No Life. When I wrote No Life, I was going through a very difficult period. And I was saying to one of my friends recently, I write, if you want to know who I am, listen to my songs. I speak very candidly in my song. I speak about my life like in detail in my song, because for me, it's me trying to find a sense of healing. It's me, for me, it's therapy.
So it's a healing process for you, and it's also a healing process for others who are listening who are going through some things like that of the sort. So, and again, you have done so many different things. What would you rate as your most successful project? And not success as in terms of financial, but success in terms of beneficial to you and other people.
Right.
On a social.
I would say in terms of the far-reaching nature of Shout It Out, that video that we did last year, I would say that to date, that is one of my most successful projects. Shout It Out is, well, the funny thing about Shout It Out is that a Vincentian producer, Hunter Flow Productions, he's always reached out to me and sent me rhythms, and nothing really quite connect until he sent me that rhythm. And I thought, this is a good R&B kind of vibe, which I was accustomed to as a boy. That's what I sang when I was growing up. So I said, let me try this. And then one of my friends, which is the same producer I talked about earlier, his father passed away. And I thought, let me write him a song to comfort him as a dear friend. And so it started. In life, you feel such heartache. You're trying to make it, but it's hard here. You know? So it started to talk about his loss and so on. And I sent it to him and he loved it. And I thought, why not just make it into a song that I could release, you know? And then when I was thinking about what would the video be like, I thought maybe I should pay homage to the Garifuna, Kalinago people of St. Vincent, you know, which I am a descendant of. And I thought, we talked about their warlike nature, about their cannibalism. I wanted to show them as a family, loving, losing, healing, being in a place of war, but also fostering peace among themselves. And so one of my friends, Joshua Anderson, said he would walk along with me on the video. And so he came on board. My friend, who is a makeup artist, came on board to paint us up and so on. I did the costuming and so on. And before you know it, we acted up this elaborate short film. And I didn't quite know what it would come to be. You know, I was kind of afraid that it might be seen as sacrilegious, or even so like we are mocking the Garifuna people, or maybe they might say, as a believer, I am showing too much skin because I was like half naked, you know? But nothing like that came out of it. Everybody embraced this whole thing, like they were waiting for this to happen. Before we know it, we won an award in Antigua. And then we won several awards in the US. And then we won a silver medal at the Global Music Award. I was like, what?
I must say, I love that video. And when I was looking at it, I had to really go back and see if it was really you, because all the different makeup. And I must say, you've changed so much, June, over the course of the years, because one time you had the dreads, one time you had, you know, but the video was really something to behold. And we need more of that too, because we need to also promote our Garifuna music and our Garifuna culture. And because, like, you know, back in the day, Garifuna people, Garifuna Caribs, however you want to look at it, people would look at them different. Lo and behold, now we should be embracing that culture more. So yeah, CP and I are also working on getting some Garifuna music also to the station so that we can.
Awesome. And you mentioned something that I think is so profound. You talked about being looked down on when we were kids. But when I was a kid, I used to do the same thing to people who are of Carib descent. because I didn't know that I was one of them. So one day my uncle called me, bringing down someone who was Carib, and he said to me, "Do you know that you also Carib?" So I said, "Me?" He said, "Your grandfather is from Sandy Bay." So I said, "Oh, it's true." So from that point, it not only shamed me, but it also bring me to a consciousness that we have to be proud of who we are. So I started to identify with them because my uncle was wise enough to let me see that. And so I wanted to now change the script and now bring that sort of attention to our people. And I tell you, it was hard. It was hard, you know, because I had to train to fight. And I thought I was very clumsy when I was growing up. So fighting for me, I thought was impossible. But I said to myself, I want to make it look so effortless and so real that people think I have a black belt in fighting. So I trained hard. The guy who I fought against, he was my trainer.
Oh.
And he trained me hard. I trained to the point where I dislocated my shoulder. I sprained one of my toes.
Wow.
It was crazy. But in the end, I think the judges saw the immense work that went into it, and they really awarded us well.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And like you say, I think I did that, what you said, look down, but by the time I reached Form 1, that was all gone because I was fortunate to have Caribs. They were the first set of Form 1 students to enter North Union, if thing like that.
Okay.
So they kind of blend, and then I realized how talented these people are. So when I realized how talented the Caribs are, especially in arts and culture, I go like, wow, these people should do that. Like, I'm serious. That was my perception from the time I entered Form 1.
And I want to say that I'm a very proud descendant of the Kalinago people and of the Garifuna people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And we should all be proud, whether we are or not. And sometimes even if you're like my complexion, we can also have a trace of it because it was there or it started there. So
I think we all are.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So moving on with your music, what plans do you have for extra music? And do you, before you answer, do you plan to go outside of, or do you only do the gospel section, or you do? Because I know some of your music are like R&B flavor as well.
Right.
So,
well, I prefaced my answer earlier by saying I do hopeful music and inspirational music because I don't want to be pigeonholed into a particular genre because I know how we are. We like a name, we like to brand people, stereotype them into a particular box. And I would not be boxed in, So I have done inspirational music, I've done gospel. I am working on some interesting music. I'm working on some love music, some conscious reggae. I'm also working on a fun salsa that I'm hoping to release this year. I'm also releasing a reggae sometime this month, and that also has a very interesting video that we should be releasing as well. So I'm sort of feeling different genre and see how they fit within my hopeful inspirational themes. Yeah.
And anything on the dream board? I know you don't usually say what's on the board, but anything on the dream board that you think you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished?
Let's see. I'm yet to start my foundation to help kids that can't really read well. I'm really passionate about reading and helping kids who are disadvantaged And not because they have a mental disability or a learning disability, but they may have challenges with finances to access schools and to access resources for school. And also how can I help them with developmental challenges?
Right.
I think I want to really hone in on that a little bit more coming next year.
Sure, that's a good initiative, and also some of them need just a little bit more attention than others.
That's right. That's right.
So long. There's something I forgot to ask you with the book, Flippity Floppity. I like the words, but it's like that. Yeah, Flippity
Floppity wig.
Yeah. So for the illustrations, were the illustrations done in St. Vincent or?
No, the publisher has been St. John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but she was able to get someone from Poland to work on the illustrations for us.
Okay. Now, because I know that the indigenous people, the Caribs, they're very good with illustrations. So I just they had put the work into it for that. And coming up to your your modeling. How is that going, and how did that come about? And give us a little insight into that.
I think it was a challenge. One of my friends challenged me to model because he thought it was a fun thing to challenge me to do. And if you know me, if you challenge me, I'm going to do it. So I was in college, and I just took the challenge seriously. And then I modeled in Cuba when I was a student there. And recently, when I was in the USA, I did a bit of modeling there. So I'm hoping I'm working with an agency in the US right now to do recruitment for acting models and actors, models, and singers. So we are trying to see if we can make some arrangement for some work in the US with regard to modeling as well as regard to acting. So we're working on that.
Wow, so you're serious in all facets. So let me ask you another question. What would you say is your greatest achievement with everything that you're doing? What is your greatest achievement so far?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. Oof. That's a tough one. Ooh, you putting me the spot right now. I would say this book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I say this book because I can look back at it in the next 50 years or next 40 years and know that it really chronicle and channel my feelings and my story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was gonna say almost not 50 years, but I was gonna say it will be there for years and years and years
to come.
And
yes.
it will still perform its duty as it to motivate, influence, and uplift people. So
I couldn't have said it better.
Mm-hmm. I think that is obviously any answer would be correct, but I think that would, if I were you, that would also be my pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit now about the song. If there's one song from your catalog that you have to perform, which one would that be?
Ooh. I think there are two songs that I really, really like on my my second album that aren't very popular. There's one called Show a Little Love. And I tell you why, because I'm gonna say something that might bring some heat. I don't think the church knows how to show love. I don't think we know what love is. And I don't know if we see it, if we can recognize it. And I also don't know that they understand what Christ meant when he said to love each other. And so I think we think love is rebuke. When we say, oh, open rebuke is better than secret love, we use that a lot to justify our rebuking habits rather than showing tangible love and reaching out to a brother and embrace a sister and meet the needs of somebody who is in dire straits. And we don't understand what it means to feed people who are hungry and feel the infirmities of each other. And I think this is one of the burdens that I carry as a musician, as an artist, as a creator. I talk about these things in my songs and where I write, because I want people to understand that die in love that you're showing, die in love, die in love. And so that song really covers that aspect of what really love is. And we should show love and it should be tangible. You're a deacon, you're a pastor, it doesn't matter. Your little brother, little sister, we all need love, the same love.
Sure.
I think that's one of my favorite song in my entire catalog.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I do echo your sentiments with that. Like I've experienced what you're saying there also with the church and love, and also it can pass on to parents as well. Just like how some parents don't know true love or how to love their children. You know, they show the wrong things. You know, I mean, I can sit here, but like I said, the interview is not about me because I can sit here and give you examples about the church with showing love, especially when I move from one place to the other, and you expect that kind of love from the church that come in, but instead you're being ignored. But I won't touch.
We are all imperfect people, but that doesn't excuse our inabilities, our not inabilities, but our lack of trying.
Mm-hmm. The ability to reach out and see that part.
Yeah.
And what would you say? What would you say is your favorite place to perform?
Small churches, very small gatherings where you can get into the crowd and really
connect
with the people, and you could feel emotions, you could feel yours. Oh, I would not trade a small church for any big gatherings.
What would you say? What would you say to somebody who is trying to achieve, you know, whether music, whether acting? What is your advice to them? If somebody come to you and say, okay, I need some advice, what would the first thing you're trying to implement into them?
Be true to who you are. You can't run from who you are. If you run from who you are, you won't be able to sit comfortable in your own skin. And so you come across as a phony, as a fake. So when you sing, when you write, when you act, whatever you do not come across as authentic. And you have to have authenticity built into your story. And for me, if you can't be authentic, you won't be able to connect and relate to people.
Because we have some artists before, and they say one of the most thing that people don't really realize, they have to be humble.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And it's not just only for the sake of being humble, but it's for the energies to flow, the vibes to flow. Because the more stuck up you are, is the more stuck up your lyrics are. And it's the most stuck up the vibes that come out of you. So it's not only in relating to people one-on-one, it's also how you flow artistically.
Because a lot of people, even sometimes we invite people to come on the show and they don't realize how much a show like this, as you say, we don't know who is listening out there.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of information that somebody might even listen to and say, well, okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. But we try to invite a lot more people onto the show, and some of them, they never reply, but it's okay. I don't know if they're mic shy, if that's okay. But at least
I don't think it's mic shyness. I think people prioritize who they're going to make appearances on. Because the thing is, you gotta realize that some people think that they are above certain things, But if you are humble enough, you realize that the further you can reach in sending your message across to the people who needs it is the more effective you are.
And that's why we say sometimes we don't know who is listening. So we
Yeah.
always want to give people a voice. And when you come onto the show, if you notice, we don't stick at one thing. We want to hear your story.
Yes, and I appreciate that about the show for real.
Because our intention is to let people hear your story rather than hear how much degree you have and all this kind of stuff. Yes, that's very important. But
Yes.
what is important to us for people to know is your story, so they can use your story to help to build themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why our interview is never an hour. Sometimes it's 1.5 hours, sometimes it's 2 hours, and sometimes people don't even want to go.
Right.
Because that story is important. We notice that story is important, and a lot of people don't get to tell their story.
Yes.
When you come onto this, don't hold back anything. We just don't want you to hold back anything. We just want people to know exactly your story, your upbringing, your educational side, other side. So outside that now, what other side do you have outside all this resume? Do you have anything that you want to look into?
I can't dance, so don't expect me to say I want to dance. I can't dance yet, right? Right, says I can't dance yet.
It's not on the list yet. If you put it on the list,
it's on the list. It's on the list. Yeah. I really well, the thing is, maybe this might be a bit premature to mention because I never said it in any interview, but I'm also an inventor. I'm working with an invention company in the US to patent an invention I came up with when I was in the US. So there are a few things that I've invented and I'm trying to get them patented and get them to be produced. So that is new for this interview. I never mentioned this anywhere in any interview or to any person except very close friends.
But that's why we always say we let you talk.
Yeah, because I believe, as I said before, I'm a creator because I came from the creator. And so things do come to me through dreams. Things come to me through visions. They come to me through impartations. So for me, when they come, I don't back down. I write it down. I remember when I was in the US at 3 a.m, this idea came to me, and I got out of my bed and started writing it down. And I remember my roommate getting up and asked why I was up, but he didn't get up. Rather, I wanted to wake him up for him to co-sign that it was my invention, But I was afraid that it was too early to wake him up. But he told me he was up, looking at me, saying, "What is he up inventing now?" And I'm always writing something, Yeah. So I just lean into things when they come.
So what next? What next for you now? What we could expect?
What next for me? I am actually traveling a lot now because I am working with the Caribbean Biodiversity Fund, and we are doing some field trips across the region. So I'm supposed to be going to Cuba, Santo Domingo, and the likes. So I'm hoping to film a video while I'm there for my salsa. So I'm trying to strategize and network with my Spanish-speaking brethren to see how I could get a video done between Cuba and Santo Domingo so we can bring that story to life. And I'm telling you, CS, I'm telling you, CP, I'm telling you, people who are listening, my beautiful people who are listening, that if I do this video, or when I do this video, I will be dancing.
Salsa.
Salsa! Yeah.
If it's one thing we can say that when you have any project, you have anything, don't be afraid. If you can't get on to me, now that you are acquainted with Moulton, you could always do that. But don't be afraid to come back to Vinci Internet Radio anytime.
I appreciate this.
Put it also on your list that this is not going to be your first and only time on Vinci Internet Radio. You're gonna be here a couple of times more than that. I haven't heard much of his songs, but I really fell in love with this one.
Yeah, that one is very special. Listen, that one, boy.
Anything with St. Vincent is good, man. At what point, though, would you say enough is enough? I've achieved it all.
Whew. I don't think that would happen until I die. I always say that I want to die empty.
Wow.
I want to die empty. I don't want to leave anything undone, anything unsaid. And I want to leave enough that the portals of history would call my name. Yeah. And that said, we are hoping to continue what we started with Shout It Out. We want to produce a full-length video, movie, or a series of shorts with the whole idea of the Garifuna and the Kalinago people. But we're trying to raise funds to do so. So we are currently writing the story, and we are hoping to produce this film to bring some sort of awareness of our cultural heritage, and so that we could leave it as a treasure pot for our young people in the future to come.
Mm-hmm. How would people see those films?
Well, the first one we did is currently on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But we're shooting really high this time. We're shooting for Netflix.
Oh. On the board again.
Yes, on the board.
He's such an inspiration, man. Honestly. So for the book, or the last one, at least the last one that you wrote here, how could people get that?
Right, my book Flippity Floppity Wing is available on Amazon, Canada, the USA, London, the UK, etc. It's just $17.95 US for the book as a hardcover, and it is available also on Sugar Apple Books, which is the name of the publisher, and you can get it either on those platforms. For Portsmouth and St. Vincent, we have not yet worked out the consignment with the local bookstores yet, so we do not have any available currently. We had some, but they sold out.
But it would eventually be available in bookstores in St. Vincent?
Yes. I want to also say that we've had some really good news, and I forgot to mention this. Good thing you brought it up again. This book is actually going to be used in a school in Taiwan as part of the curriculum.
Wow. That is huge.
Humongous.
That is huge, and that is rich, because we're the population of Taiwan.
Yes.
You didn't hear me. I said that is rich. I mean rich financially for you.
I heard you. I heard you.
Well, sometimes they say you're a king outside of your own palace, so I just hope the authorities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines can, look at it and embrace it, and also try to inject it into our system too. Because, like, I haven't read it, but based on the story, based on the message that it gives off, that's a children's book I would read. I mean, I don't have small kids, but I would read it, because I can just imagine the message that it would send and the rewards in it.
Yes.
In wrapping up, though, like CP said, anything else that we haven't touched? I know we haven't touched your philanthropist part of it as well. If you feel free to just touch base, touch a little bit on it, or other things that you feel that we should touch.
Yeah, well, we collaborate with many organizations to help support whichever initiatives we think we are led to support. We don't do it through any organization as such, because we have not yet started the foundation. But when Haiti had the earthquake, my first instinct was we gotta raise funds. I knew somebody in Haiti. I did a barbecue to raise funds. I sent it over to friends in Haiti to help out in the situation that they were in. During the volcanic eruption, we raised support as well to help persons. During the floods, 2013, 2010 floods in Sandy Bay, we also gathered resources, clothing, toys, books for the kids. We also went as far as having a big feast, Christmas feast. I don't celebrate Christmas, but we had a really big feast for persons in Orange Hills, Sandy Bay. I give out toys and gifts to the kids. So wherever there's need, and I can help, I always reach out to see how best I can show tangible love to persons around us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping to do a lot more when the foundation is launched in a more organized, scheduled way.
Yeah, well, like CP said, feel free to come back and let us know. We don't have to call you, like he said. Don't be a stranger to VNC Internet Radio, man. If you just want to mention to people your social media sites in wrapping up, like where they can.
Yes. You can find me on Facebook, Hayden Billingy Music. You can find me on Instagram at Hayden_Billingy. I'm also on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's about it. Find me on those 3 major platforms.
And before you go, any plans to take that book a little step forward, and maybe a little film mini series? Or I see like big. And you notice I keep talking about the book because I see a big big venture in it for big in it. Even like read along. And stuff
we are thinking about a few things. We are hoping that it would pick up in a major way. But one of my friends, before he fell ill, when he saw the graphic, he said, "Hey, then we got to illustrate. We got to make this into a they call it a movie. He was thinking of animating it, an animation, yes. But he fell ill, and that sort of fell through. But I believe that if it's God's plan, and I believe it's God's plan, because when this book was landed in my spirit, I knew it came right from him. And I believe it can really translate into something that is bigger if it were animated. And I'm gonna pursue it.
Yeah, I must say, Hayden, man, like you're doing things at incredible fast pace. You write at incredible fast pace. So that shows just how talented you are. So for me, man, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you virtually and talking to you and learning, lots of things from you that I can use in my everyday life. So you are already an influence on me. So, thank you for, flying the flag a little bit higher, and thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for the people's life whom you have touched, and continue to be an inspiration. And I don't have to tell you that, but you will continue to be. And, again, thank you for connecting with us on VNC Internet Radio. God bless, man.
It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for those kind words. I really enjoyed being here. It was I felt like I was part of the family. I felt like
family when you get here.
Like I knew you guys for a long time. I felt like I was at home. So thank you for that. CP, I appreciate you reaching out to me, and I really appreciate the love and support and just the familial feeling I felt being on the show today. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, man, and you're welcome to come back anytime. As I said before, I don't have to call you.
All right.
Anytime you have anything that you want to put out there and you need some help, anything, man, just reach out.
I certainly will.
We always here to help, and that's one of my main mission is to give Vincentian a voice, because not too many people give you the voice. People might give you a short voice, maybe 10, 15 minutes, but we want a story. So you talk until you can't talk anymore. That's okay with us, we can stay here all right. We had the time. So always make sure that you have your story. And as I told you before, you're gonna come here, we're gonna get your story, and you realize what I was telling you before the interview.
Yes.
When I said that thing. So it's always really been a pleasure, man. And as you say, we feel like family, you know. I feel like family. We feel very close. So anytime you want to come back to Vinci Internet Radio, just let me know. If you can reach me, or you can reach Moulton. We're all in this together, and I'm all about Vincentian. So I'm out here, but I'm still there, you know.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's my main aim. Anyhow, man, and it's really been a pleasure. Anytime, man, just feel free, and we can keep in touch and make sure that you get those things over to me. All right.
Certainly. All right, man.
Good one, and enjoy yourself, man.
You too. Bye.
All right.
All right. Bye.